Okay, so in this video I'm going to be covering a couple of tips and tricks I've covered in my lessons. So I'm going to be showing you the spin tool and just general, like, recapping on some general skills as well. So first things first, I'm just going to quickly make a barrel. So I'm going to use this box. I'm going to SX, SY. Okay. Like so. So to use the spin tool, okay, we want to make sure that our object is a good distance away from our center point here, because the spin tool will rely on that origin point to rotate around, like so. Okay, so if I just press that, get us going first of all, let's say like that. Make sure to open up the menu here, down at the bottom, and we can change the angle. So this is where maths comes in, well, becomes a little bit involved as well, but we've got 12, but 12 divided by 360 is 30, so all I'm going to do is 12 times 30, press enter, and it gets everything nice and evenly spaced out, like so. But I need to do some little bit more of adjustments before I do anything, because it's not, because there's still some gaps there as well. Now let's do the spin again. 12 asterisk 30. There we are. And all I'm going to do is to select every other component, face, bring it up, do the same with the bottom, but every other one on the opposite side, bring that down as well. So now that we're not going to have any texture issues or like UV fighting as well. So I'm just going to bring in a cylinder, going to change the fill cap to a triangle fan. So again, that cleans that up for us. As said, bring that down, can bring that down again, like so. Shift D to duplicate, bring that down, do the same, just to create a small quick little barrel. I'm going to bring in another cylinder, Shift Z, okay, and this is going to become my barrier. Well, not my barrier, my metal rods around the center. But I'm just going to quickly get this focused. Okay. Three vertices, like so. So, to select, if you're working on an object that has multiple objects within, okay, that wasn't really well explained. So if you're working on a model, but it has multiple objects within the same mesh, like so, you can select one mesh by just pressing L. So this will just select all of the polygons that are connected to that mesh. Okay, so it makes things a little bit easier. Then I'm going to scale this down, Shift Z, to make sure it's all keeping reasonably pretty and even. Shift D, bring that up. S, Shift Z, again, bring that down. Shift D again, bring it down again. So again, what I'm going to have to do here is going to grab these two, again just so I can angle these out, just so again there's no clipping involved. And there we are, we've got our very basic barrel there. Okay, so one thing I did forget to do was UV unwrap. So I'm going to move this to the side. Oh, that's scale. Move this to one side, and I'm going to quickly bring in a new cube. I'm not going to do the full barrel again. I just want to quickly show this very quickly. So again, make sure that you keep this in mind and think ahead, like what I didn't do. Is to make sure that you UV unwrap before you do the spin, okay, because you're just making extra work for yourself. Okay, and if I move this off from the center, now quickly put in my seams. So the way that the seams and UV unwrapping works is to try and, well, essentially you're creating a canvas for us to work on. So again, we want to make sure that we're putting our seams in where we can and try to hide them as best as we can. Okay, so if I mark seam like so, if I quickly show you on this now, I use my annotate tool. So let's say this here is going to be the center. So now the way I've marked my seams is basically just making cuts. So all of this will all fold out. So all of this will fold out like so. Okay, that will fold out this way and follow the rest of this round. The bottom would fold out and follow the rest of this, and then the back would also fold and go around the back to make a flat surface. Okay, so with this, it makes texturing a lot easier, and being able, you also have to think about how you're gonna UV unwrap while you're making this model as well. But here's the main point: when you spin, it duplicates this object, so it duplicates all the information that you have placed onto it. So when I spin this, now you can see that all of them, let's go 12 star 30. Now you can see that every single one of these faces has a seam. Now if I go to select all, press U, then UV unwrap, then go to UV editor, you can see that all of these are now UV unwrapped. Okay, so there's multiple ways that we can check our UV map as well. Okay, oh, for some reason my screencast is not working on this particular screen. Okay, so currently pressing N to open up this menu, but to move across this bar here, middle mouse button, press down middle mouse button and hold it, and you can drag across along here. So with the UV map, again, you can type in UV grid, like so, and then generated type UV grid, new image. So this can be a bit difficult to see, so you can create a color grid instead. Can be a little bit nicer to look at, but either or, that's your own preference as well. But to try and make sure that this is all being shown on our objects or on our mesh, we need to actually assign the material. So if we go into shading, press new to create a new material, Shift A to add and search up image texture, like so. Add the color to base color, then grab this drop down menu here, go into UV grid. Okay, so the main aim of this is to make sure that our grid is square and uniform all the way through. Okay, we want to avoid any sort of distortion. Okay, and here's another tool that you can use to help you identify any particular areas that are not even. So if we go into here, so our show overlays, use the drop down menu and you can go into UV stretching. So you tick that and you can see that we have a little bit of stretching going on, but most of this is okay. Okay, but we want to make sure that all of our model is dark blue. Okay, that's what we want to try and achieve when we are UV unwrapping. Okay, so that is what we're looking for. But overall, just by scanning around and seeing what the player will see, all of this is fine. Okay, that is exactly what we want. All of our squares are nice and even, none of them are stretching, none of them are distorted as well. And like what we did up here, we've moved our meshes around. If we don't do that, you'll have a lot of texture conflicts and all of this will start happening. Okay, so that is why we grab our meshes and move them slightly so they're not overlapping. Okay, there's some slight texture difference collisions, but again, that's just modifying and editing what we've currently got. Okay, so that's what we want to avoid. Okay, so let's go back into layout so you can see my screencast. Now I'm going to press H to hide. You can press Alt H to unhide everything as well. Okay, so H to hide, and I'm going to quickly show you how to set up your 3D models for a modular asset pack. Okay, so first of all, we want to make sure that this center point, our origin point, is in the corner of our object. So I'm just going to move it. So GZ1, no, that is not what I wanted. Okay, GZ1, then GY1, then GX1. Okay, so now this is in a nice little area where we can start editing. Okay, so if you want to move, if you don't want to tick this, so it's an automatic move on increment, you can press and hold Control and it'll do that for you. Okay, just remember that each one of these squares is 1 meter. Okay, so we want to make sure that in our scene and in our units you just have an idea of how everything is laid out. So currently we are in meters and that is the default setting, and this cube is 2 meter by 2 meter. Okay, so we just keep that in mind, so when you're modeling and when you're creating your assets, you're keeping in mind that so far this box is 2 meters tall. So an average human, a character model, will probably go to about here to it. So again, that's a 2 meter box. Okay, so when we're creating environmental pieces, again, we just want to make sure that there's enough space for our character to like move around and look around as well. So currently this is 3 meters high, and I'm going to make it 5 5 meters long. Okay, and since we're creating an environmental asset pack, again, we don't need the back. Okay, because again, the players are not going to see it. Okay, so all I'm going to do, I'm just going to make a very simple sci-fi wall. And yes, I know my students are probably looking at this and thinking, oh yes, he's making another sci-fi wall. And yes, absolutely, because I love sci-fi. Don't judge me. Okay. And if I want to make a little interface panel, there we are. Okay, very quick sci-fi wall done. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. I can use that to go forth and use it as a template. But we also want to create one. We also want to create a pillar. So I'm going to move this across, plug that in here, press tab, bring this up one, lose the back, because again I don't need the back, all the sides really. Extrude that out. Don't need this much wider than a meter. And again, if you want to make sure that there are no gaps, just embed it in there a little bit more as well. Yay, now we have a pillar that can fit onto each of these. And always try to keep them all separated so they're a bit easier to look at as well. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to grab, oh, that's not what I wanted. Grab all of this, get rid of the faces, and I'm going to quickly show you the Bisect tool. Okay, also going to get rid of these ones. Dissolve edges, just make things a bit easier to look at. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring in a plane. Okay, so rotating this on the y-axis by 90, rotate this on the z by 45 degrees, scale this up, and then I just want to position it in this corner like so. So this is exactly where I want it. I'm going to move myself into the z-axis view, select our environmental piece, press tab, press A. Okay, so we want to make sure everything is selected. Now, with the Bisect tool, okay, we're going to need to press Control, select the plane. So again, we can use this as a guide. With the Bisect tool, left click on one side of the plane, go to the other, like so. Try to keep it to the 45 degrees as best as possible, and then left click to release, and that has put in a nice cut exactly where we want it as well. Now I'm going to press 3, Shift Z so I can select, make sure to select the select box, that will be very good, Ryan. Select this, then delete the faces that you don't want, and then press 2, Alt, left click on the loop that is left. Now we extrude along the axis, press and hold Control, then left click to confirm, then SX0 to straighten everything out. And now we just need to move this into a grid format, like so. And that is how you can create a very quick corner piece. Again, there is a little bit of fixing that you have to do, because again, well, with this particular wall segment, because of the way I've made it, I need to create a new little loop there. But again, that can be fixed a bit later. But again, you can do this on the opposite side to create an inside corner as well. But that's just a way of doing this, or creating corners very quickly. So if I'm going to duplicate this, hold Control and move that along the side. Again, with this, you can create some curved corners very quickly by just pressing the bevel button, like so. And you've got some very nice straight corners, and then you've got nice curved corners as well. Okay. So, there we are. And that's going to be the end of this little quick recap. Again, we've covered the spin tool to show how that works, a little bit of UV unwrapping, and then how to set out a modular asset pack and using the different tools that will be very helpful in creating this as well. Okay, well, catch you later. Bye.